Good morning, everybody. I'm Genevieve.
And I'm Maria.
Welcome to today's session, all about different Englishes. Aber bevor wir mit der heutigen Session beginnen, möchten wir uns bei all unseren Facebook-Zuschauern für die technischen Probleme bei unserer letzten Session am 26. September entschuldigen. Also ihr könnt euch jetzt die Aufzeichnung der Sitzung, also diese Session, auf unsere Facebook-Seite ansehen. Und wir hoffen, sie gefällt euch. Maria, how are you doing on this sunny Monday?
I am very happy the sun is out, and I'm doing great and ready to talk about the variety of the English language.
Brilliant. Okay, so today Maria and I will take a look at American and British English. And later in the session, we will have a little peek at Irish English, or Hiberno English, as we call it. And today we're going to do things a little bit differently. So we're going to start the session with a quiz. So we will describe something, and you need to guess what it is and write your answers in the comments. Okay, I hope you're all ready. So will I start, Maria, with the first one?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, now let's start with our favorite topic, food. So, do you know the name of the small sweet cake that has a hole in the middle? I mean, but there's also ones that don't have holes in the middle, but I think
Yeah.
the classic shape is round with a hole in the middle. Let's see if anyone has the answer. I see a few answers.
I do too.
And I see two different spellings of those answers. And I think so far you are all correct. So the correct answer is donut. And there are two ways to spell donut. The first way is the American spelling, and the second is the British English spelling. But they're pronounced the very same. It's donut and donut. Also der Hauptunterschied ist, dass das britische Englisch die Schreibweise von Wörtern und manchmal auch deren Aussprache beibehält, die es aus anderen Sprachen übernommen hat, also vor allem aus dem Französischen und Deutschen. Im amerikanischen Englisch richtet sich die Schreibweise hauptsächlich danach, wie das Wort klingt, wenn es gesprochen wird. And you can see that because donut, it's just simple, donut. And then the other one, not so simple, but it's pronounced the same way. Okay, good start. Maria, do you want to do the next one?
So the next one. Red, orange, blue are all examples of what?
You can have gray or pink or purple or black, yellow, red.
Or lilac or turquoise if you start getting really detailed.
Oh, I like when Birgit had actually sent a picture of a donut for the question one.
I was about to say, I was going to say my tip was in the emoji, it has a hole in it.
Yeah, definitely. So all of these are examples of what? Red, blue, pink, purple, orange.
Yellow. Green.
Ah, I see a few people have written berries.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, you can have blackberries, blueberries. That's true. That's true. But can we have lilac berries?
Carmelian berries.
Okay. So
Yes.
I've seen it somewhere.
So these are all example of colors or colors. Without the U, with the U. So ein bisschen Geschichte. Im Jahr 1828 wurde die erste Ausgabe von Webster's American Dictionary of the English Language veröffentlicht und zahlreiche nachfolgende Ausgaben etablierten es als Amerikas maßgebliches Lexikon. Es enthielt die meisten der amerikanischen Schreibweisen, mit denen wir heute vertraut sind, einschließlich derjenigen, die das U weglassen wie Color und Honor mit U. Webster wollte die Schreibweise vereinfachen, aber er wollte auch die Unabhängigkeit Amerikas von der britischen Herrschaft zeigen, indem er die amerikanische Schreibweise von Wörtern von der britischen unterschied. Dasselbe tat er mit Wörtern, die auf ISI endet, um sie zu IZE zu machen, weil er die Meinung war, dass die amerikanische englische Rechtschreibung die Art und Weise der Aussprache widerspiegeln sollte.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Like this was a linguistic protest.
It was a linguistic protest, and he comes back later. We're going to talk about the Webster Dictionary and the power that the people who were writing it had.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. So you need to write in the comments, what do you call the place, the building, where they have plays and shows with actors and costumes and music and lights, and you sit in the audience and you have a seat with a number and the curtains close and then they open again. And I love these places, and there's lots of these places in Berlin. But what are they called?
A lot of these places in Germany.
Yes, and
Overall.
I think a lot of tourists come here to visit these places. Okay, I think I see. Have I seen both answers? I have seen both answers. Okay. So the word is theater. Now, sometimes it can be pronounced a little bit differently, like theater, theater. How would you pronounce it, Maria?
Theater.
Theater, theater, with a soft theater. Okay.
Theater.
And as you can see, the biggest difference here is the ER for the American English and the RE. And this is one of those examples where the British English has retained this French spelling, because in French it's théâtre, 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 I think. So in British, they kept the French spelling, but in American English, no, they want the simpler and the protest spelling.
The protest spelling. It could also be because in German, as we know, it's also Theater. And American English, the two languages that influenced American English the most are German and Spanish. So they could have also taken the German
that is very
spelling.
True. Yes, thank you. Okay, next one is yours.
So this is a place, another location, where you park your car. It's a small building, sometimes attached to the house, sometimes not, sometimes bigger in the city. It's a small building where people can also store things like tools, bikes, but mostly cars.
And I think if you have one of these, I mean, most people, if you live in a house, so not like in an apartment, if you live in a house, and each family or each house will have one of these sometimes. And I think a lot of people use it as their Abstellkammer, like as their storage room. They might have a car, they might have some bikes, and then everything else gets thrown in there.
Very true. Oh, I see a lot of answers.
Sigrid has written car park. So this is interesting. Car park for me can be a building, or it can just be an open space where you park your car. But I wouldn't, for personal use, for just for one family or one house, you wouldn't have a car park unless it was a communal car park with everybody in your building. But for the actual structure, the building for one or two cars, then we would talk, well, I would say garage, and Maria would say
garage.
Exactly. So for the people who were at the session last time, we looked at this soft and hard. So soft G and hard G. So Maria says garage, and I would say garage.
And I would also like to point out, because I see a lot of people put car park. In the States, the place where you find in the cities that's just a lot of stories, it's a building where you just park your car and go walk around the city, is called a parking garage.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would need the parking, and then it makes it not in your home.
Isn't that so interesting? Because you're always parking it. But if
Exactly.
it's, a parking garage, and I see Bastel has written a multi-story car park. Now, to me, that's what I would say. So I think in British English or in Irish English, we would talk about a multi-story car park. Would you say multi-story parking garage?
No, because a parking garage is by default multi-story. If it's just one kind of big lot, we would say a parking lot, like what you would see outside of a grocery store, or if it's just one story. Mm-hmm.
Like Michael.
Exactly, like Michael said.
So parking lot would be the American English for outside, one level, and the multi-story car park would be British English for the inside with lots of levels, but you would just say parking garage because they always are inside with lots of levels.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I've learned something today. Okay, so the next one, we're going to sports now. So, do you all know the sport where a team of 11 people play against another team of 11 people, and they play for 90 minutes with 15 minutes break, half time. And the aim of the game is to score a goal in the other team's net. I have some famous players here. Philip Lahm, David Beckham, Michael Ballack, Oliver Kahn. Most of them, I think, were German. I see lots of good answers. Really good. Maria, would you, because you researched this for
Yes.
us, would you like to give the answer?
I also learned something when I researched this, because it can either be soccer in the States in the American English, or football in the UK or in British English. And I was really curious because those two words, as you can see, are not the same but spelled differently. You don't say them the same. They're two completely different words. So what the history tells me is that in the 18th, 19th century, this used to be association football and association rugby in the UK. So you would have these two sports, but they were in associations or they were in clubs. And to shorten the name, because saying association football and association rugby just takes so much time, They shortened association football to a soccer, like ASSOCCER. So association soccer, basically a soccer. And they shortened rugby football to rugger. And then when the colony started in the US, at that time, they started to shorten association football, so a soccer to just football, and then rugby football or rugger to just rugby. But in the US, just at the same time, they preferred soccer, because that was the shortened name, a soccer, to football. And that's how it became soccer versus football.
It's brilliant. I didn't know all the history. And also, if you are visiting someone in America and you talk about football, so if you're coming from Britain and you go to America and you talk about football, they would assume you were speaking about American football with the helmets and the egg-shaped ball. So you really have to differentiate. You have to make a difference between those two.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. Would you like to take the next one, Maria?
Sure. So when you travel to New York and you take the train that runs underground, what would you call this type of train or train station? It's also the name of a fast food sandwich shop.
It is the name of a fast food sandwich shop. And I also listened to a podcast about why it's called that, but that's we can talk about that a different day.
A lot of good answers.
Really good.
Really good. Yes. So this would be the subway, as I would say, the subway. And in the UK, it's also known as the tube. But not in the US. The only thing is, in the US, you only have really one major city, which is New York, that does use an underground train, which is the subway. And that's how the entire country knows it. But I do know that in the UK, you have a really famous London underground system, and you would say underground or tube.
Yeah, and I think because they're all underground. But yeah, it's so specific to America when they talk about the subway or the tube in Great Britain. Okay, really good, really good. Okay, now we're going for transport again, but slightly different transport. So let's think about a car. Okay, we're going back to the topic of cars. What do you call, first of all, the door at the front? So you lift it to take a look at your engine. So where the engine is in your car, what do you call this door that you lift up? So that's the first part. And then at the back of your car, what do you call the other door that you lift up? And maybe you want to put in your suitcase or your shopping bags or your golf clubs. What do you call the door at the front of your car and the door at the back of your car? Does anyone know? So the first one is for the engine, and the other one is for your bags. What do you call these?
This is a hard one.
I really think so. And we're asking for two different things. Okay, I see a few good answers. Okay. So we'll give you the answer. This is tricky, especially because I think a lot of people are riding their bicycles now and maybe not driving the car. Okay, so if you want to check your engine in America, you would check under the hood. And if you're going on vacation, then you need to put your suitcases in the trunk in America. So in American English, it's hood or trunk, but in British English, it's the bonnet or the boot. So the bonnet you lift to look at your engine, and the boot is where you put your shopping bags or your suitcases. Okay, really good. Next one is yours, Maria.
I love this next one because it's something I learned as well, being an adult, an English-speaking adult in Europe. How would you talk about a group of people like a company or a team? Now, I'm going to give you kind of the answer, but kind of not. I want to know what you would say. Would you say the company are coming or the company is coming?
So let's maybe we could also think of a sentence. So the company are coming to the picnic. The company is coming to the picnic, or the company are coming to the conference, or the company is coming to the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a tricky one because you're thinking, okay, company, that's a thing, but it's also with many people.
Mm-hmm. So I only see is, which is what I would say. So this is the very curious case of English collective nouns. So what we would call collective nouns, which refer to a noun that refers to a collective group of people. And there is a difference between American collective nouns and British English collective nouns. So in American English, we use singular collective nouns. We'd say, the team is playing tonight. The company is coming over tomorrow to meet us. And in British English, they use plural and singular. So both of these are right. You could go to the UK, you could say the team is playing tonight. People wouldn't think twice. You would be correct. However, you can also say the team are playing tonight because in the UK, it refers to a group of people that make up the team, and they would both be correct.
Okay, really, really good.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
It's something that we at Babbel also have to think about, especially when you're talking about the American English editors and the British English editors. This is something that's kind of funny, but it's also something we keep in mind.
Yeah, really, really good to know. And Maria, you wanted to tell us something about Harry Potter, I think. Will we move on to that?
Yes. So now, from what we can see from this quiz, there's obviously a lot of differences between American and British English, but we can see that they're both English. And nowadays, a lot of them are right, and it can seem sometimes, if you go to one or the other country, that it's almost a different kind of language. And a funny example of how it can still seem very different from each other nowadays is book titles. Book titles, we know when you have to translate them in another language, they can change completely, exactly like movie titles. But book titles between the US and the UK are also different. Not always, but sometimes. And the most popular example is what I would say Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, as it is known in the US. And in the UK, it's known as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which I'm sure is the original title. However, the book publishers did some marketing research, and they figured out that people in the US, particularly children in the US, would not want to read a book with the word philosopher in it because that sounded really boring and really hard. So they thought sorcerer's stone because a sorcerer, you know, is like a wizard and it's magical and that sounds fun, but they would not want to read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
It's so funny. And I think maybe I haven't read the Harry Potter books, but maybe I thought they were two different books because I've heard of the Sorcerer's Stone and the Philosopher's Stone. I don't think I realized it was the same book. So that
It's
is so
crazy.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can just give you a quick little history on why these two, I mean, it's the same language, but why American English is a bit different. Also, ein bisschen mehr Geschichte. Zu einem bestimmten Zeitpunkt war das Englisch, das in beiden Ländern gesprochen wurde, dasselbe. Aber nachdem die Kolonisten in den USA kamen, begann sich das Englisch ein bisschen zu verändern, aber nicht nur in der Aussprache. Die Kolonisten begannen Wörter der amerikanischen Ureinwohner wie Raccoons, Waschbär, oder Moose, Elch, für Pflanzen und Lebensmittel zu verwenden. Und das war der Beginn des amerikanischen Englisch. And the most obvious difference people notice, which I'm sure you've had this topic in the past in these sessions, is the pronunciation, especially the R. So American English speakers pronounce the R, while British English speakers don't tend to. This is due, actually, some more history, to a trend in the late 18th century where members of the British high class started dropping the R's. And it became really popular, and all of the British English speakers began dropping the R's. And in the US, that obviously didn't catch on. And one example of the classic R difference is fire, where I would say fire. And in British English, a lot of people would drop the R and say fire.
Fire.
Yeah, but Irish English speakers would still say the R, and that leads us into a bit of Irish English, Genevieve.
Yes, thank you, Maria. So I would say fire, really fire. And I think from when I started learning German and when I came to Germany and I was speaking German and I was using this R where in German it wasn't pronounced. An example of that is the word O-D-E-R. Yeah, oder. But when I first came here, I was saying odor. I was really, really pronouncing that R. And I think a lot of German people thought, she must be American because they could hear this R. But in Irish English, we pronounce the R. Und oft wird angenommen, dass das Englisch, das wir in Irland sprechen, mit dem britischen Englisch identisch ist. Also natürlich ist das Englisch, das wir in Irland sprechen, das Ergebnis des britischen Einflusses, also ein Teil. Aber mit der Zeit haben wir unser eigenes Hiberno-Englisch entwickelt und unser Englisch ist dem britischen Englisch natürlich immer noch sehr ähnlich. Wir haben auch einige Ähnlichkeiten mit dem amerikanischen Englisch, also wie diese R. Die Filme, Fernsehen, die wir sehen, also in Irland, sind sehr amerikanisch und das könnte unser Englisch beeinflusst haben auch. Also zum Beispiel bei mir Friends. Ich denke, das hat meine Sprache beeinflusst. Aber in Irland, wir haben auch einige Eigenheiten in unserer Sprache, in unser Hiberno-Englisch, die einzigartig sind und weder im britischen noch im amerikanischen Englisch vorkommen. Also einige dieser Eigenheiten stammen aus der irischen Sprache und wir haben sie ins Englische übernommen. Zum Beispiel, also Hiberno-Englisch, also ich wechsle jetzt ins Englisch, the Irish English, Hiberno English, we take the fact that in Irish there's no word for yes or no. Isn't that crazy? So in Irish, there's no word for yes or no. So in Irish and in Irish English, Hiberno English, we don't use yes or no, we use a tag. So a tag, it's a sentence tag, just like we have question tags as well. So if Maria said to me, Genevieve, are you finished? I wouldn't say yes. I would say I am. So I would take the verb that's used at the beginning. So are you finished? I am. If Maria said to me, well, this would be a lie, but if Maria said to me, can you cook? And I wanted to say no, I wouldn't say no. I would say I can't. So of course, in English, we do say yes or no. But what I'm trying to say is there are some dialects of Hiberno English where we would actually leave out the yes or no, and we would just use a tag. And then the other thing, just one more point, is in Hiberno English, if we're talking to more than one you, so I'm not just talking you, Maria, I'm talking you, Maria, and Todd and Maren, like you're in a group, we would sometimes say use. I know, we would say use. And I'm not even going to spell that for you because I don't know if you should be speaking Hiberno English. But just so if you ever heard it, you would understand that it's the plural you. And we could also say yiz. Yiz. So what are yiz doing at the weekend? Use or yiz, we could say. So that's just a little bit of Irish English. But to finish our session today, we're going to go back to compare American and British English. So if you remember in the quiz at the start, we saw like the names for parts of the car were totally different. We saw the names for for soccer and football, totally different. And for the subway and the tube, totally different. And we also see these in many other places. So if you think about the food, this is Maren's favorite thing. Sorry, Maren, if you're watching. No, Maren really, really does not like this. Cilantro. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Maria?
And this is also because of what I said earlier. American English has a lot of influence from Spanish as well. Cilantro is how you would say it in Spanish. So you would have cilantro, coriander.
Exactly. So I would say, in this case, I would actually use the British word. So in Hiberno English, we would actually say coriander. And Michael asks, are there still people in Ireland speaking Celtic language? So there's still people in Ireland speaking Irish, yes. I don't know exactly how many, but I mean, what the feeling I have and from what I'm reading, there's more and more interest in learning Irish, which makes me feel very, very happy. And I'm also very happy that I can still speak some Irish. There's a session on that from 2020. You can go back and have a look. Okay. And also two other examples. Of course, it's food, Maria, because we love talking about
We
food.
love food.
We have it's a vegetable that you find in the supermarket. It's usually black, purple color, and you make some really nice things from it, like baba ganoush.
Love
And
ganoush.
you would say eggplant, and I would say aubergine. And it's so nice because American English is eggplant, and it's called eggplant because it looks like a purple egg.
It looks like an egg. I mean, if you were in the US and someone just blindly told you to get me an eggplant from the supermarket, you would see which one it would be.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I love it. But aubergine, this is the British English, and it's derived from the Arabic word for this vegetable. Okay, so we do have a final quick little quiz for you because we can't finish the session without having a quiz. And it's about this topic of having two different words for the same thing. And we always put the American English first. And what we would like you to do is to guess what the British English is. we've made it quite easy for you because we've put the first letter of the British English word. So we hope you will all play along. So you need to write in the comments, what is the British word? What's the British equivalent? So the first one, would you like to read it but not read the second one?
Yeah. So I would say trunk. Other people would say
yeah, and I think in this case, I would also use the British English word. So where do you put your suitcases? Where do you put your shopping?
in the US, you would say pop the trunk or pop the hood to open it.
Yeah.
And so in the UK would be open the.
Okay. Correct
The
answer
boot.
is boot. And that's the tricky one because we did have bonnet, and bonnet is the hood in American English. So the hood where you look at the engine, and the bonnet would be the British English for looking at the engine. But this is where you're putting your bags. Okay. The next one is a time of year. I think right now is this time of year. And Maria would say fall, but I and my British cousins would not say fall for this time of year. Like, no way. I think that's definitely one of those words that's very, very American English. I don't think you would ever hear someone from Ireland or Britain saying fall, ever.
No. And it's curious because people in the US will also say both of these words. But when you're talking about school, so school starting again in the fall or the fall semester, that's going to be the main word you use. Ooh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. And I'm very impressed with the spelling because this spelling is not easy. So this is an example how the British English did not believe that simple spelling was better spelling. So the N is silent. So it's autumn, autumn in British English. And how would you pronounce this word, even though it's not an American English word?
I would say autumn. And actually, it's not very common, but it is a first name used for girls in the US, autumn.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we have any girls named Fall. That wouldn't be very kind. But yes, autumn. Very, very good. And thank you, Birgit, for the lovely leaves. That's so nice of you. Okay, Maria, the next one is you.
I would say cookie, which I would also want to point out was my first English word was cookie.
When you were a baby, your first English word was cookie.
Yeah, when I was 4 and moved to the US, my first English word was cookie. And then later, I learned that the British say another word that starts with a B that means something completely different in the US.
That's so true. I see good answers, and I also see very good spelling. I mean, this is amazing.
This is great.
Okay. So yes, the answer is biscuit. Biscuit. Again, what's that you doing in there? This is the French influence on the British English, because in France it would be biscuit, biscuit. But we just say biscuit.
Biscuit. And cookie comes from the German Kekse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next one, also food. And something that I like a little bit too much. So if you go to a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, you can order a burger and salad, or you can have a burger and fries, would be the American English. But I would never say fries. And my British cousin, maybe they would say it to sound cool, or I don't know, but we would not use the word fries. Yes, we would say chips. And like to remember it, like we would often say fish and chips. Fish and chips. That's a very traditional British fast food dish, which we also love in our. Oh, I'm getting hungry now. I can't be
Right?
craving fish and chips so early in the morning.
Or cookies or biscuits.
Okay, the next one is for you, Maria.
So I would say, I need to vacuum, or where's the vacuum? And that's because that's the name of this machine that we use to clean the floor. But the British would say a different name that is still a vacuum, but it's a brand name.
And it's interesting how you said that, because both of them can be the noun, so the actual Gerät, the device, the machine, and they can be the verb as well. So I have a vacuum and I need to vacuum. And it's the very, very same with the British equivalent. But as Maria said, the British equivalent is actually a brand name. And I think there's many, many people who use this word and they don't know that it came from the brand of the vacuum.
And it's also very interesting because I recently learned in the American Midwest, so if you're thinking states like Minnesota, Montana, Wisconsin, they also sometimes use the British alternative.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I do not know the history of that yet. I would love to know the history of that because that's mostly Germanic settlers. But, oh, I see a lot of right answers.
Very good. This person in particular has a really good answer. But yes, the correct answer is Hoover. Yes, I see Uli has it as well. Hoover. So I have a Hoover and I need to Hoover. I know where the Hoover is, but I didn't use it. Okay. So the next one is something that we all love. And a lot of people do this in the summertime, but you can do it all year round. And in America, you would say vacation. I need to take a vacation. But in British English, what do we say? Not Hoover. That's the opposite of vacation. Okay, I see lots of great answers. Yes, and we can say holiday or holidays. Holiday or holidays. Okay, and then the next one is the last one for today. And this is for you, Maria.
So I would say, oh, I'm getting a cold. I need to blow my nose. Can I have a Kleenex? And I know that this is not what would have been said in the UK or in British English. They would use a different word, which, to be fair, the US also uses. But that's an interesting story.
And I think it's very similar to Germany.
It's very similar to what people say in German.
Yeah, so the German would be Tempo.
Tempo.
And this
And
was crazy for me when I was like sitting on an S-Bahn back in 2006. Entschuldigung, hast du ein Tempo? It's like, what is a tempo? I don't know what that is. But what do we say in English? I see.
A tissue. Can I have a tissue? I mean, in the US, you would also say, and can you buy me a tissue box or can you hand me tissues? But it's also very, very common to say, do you have any Kleenex? Which in German, you would say, hast du ein Tempo?
Yeah.
Ich brauche ein Tempo.
And this is also a French word. Tissue, tissue. And we've kept the French. The British have kept the French, and so do the Irish. Okay, thank you very much for that session, Maria. I had lots of fun. I hope you
Me
did
too.
And I hope everybody learned something. And please, as always, go to the feedback form and tell us what you think, and tell us if you have any special wishes, if you would like us to talk about something in the next session. Maybe the next session will be because of your feedback. Okay, have a really great week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.